Welcome back to the shop. I've got my hubby Paul Shin here. He's going to answer some questions for you guys. Going to go about them quickly. He has not heard them yet, so he's going to be thinking on the fly. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Are you feeling sharp?
No, but I'll do my best.
All right. Well, we're going to start right on in.
I have my Texas shirt on, the one you got me in Kerrville, Texas at the Mafka Nationals. Oh, Mafka Nationals.
Yeah. Uh-oh, he slipped.
I know. Sorry, Jay.
Yep, he's looking styling. Well, the first one's from Randy.
Hi, Randy.
He says, "Hey, Paul and Tina, this is Randy Barker from Cummings, Georgia." This was a question that he had before, so I'm just kind of giving you a reminder and a background of what we answered the last time, because he has something that based off that.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Nope.
Okay. He says his 29 is completely dead. I replaced the battery, but she won't do anything. I have checked the fuses. I know to check, and they seem to be good. Can you help?
Check the ground.
Well, then he goes on, I said.
Oh, sorry.
Yes. So that was before. So this is the newest thing based on that.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
So he says, "Well, guy, Velvet will turn over, but no spark. The
Okay.
horn and headlights are not working. I have replaced the fuse on the starter, but she is getting no power. I am at a loss." What do you got for poor Randy there?
That's got to be ground.
Yeah?
It's got to be a bad ground. I mean, it's cranking, so the starter, he's got that. So let's see. But no headlights, horn. And that happens, well, that's through the light switch.
And there's no spark.
And there's no spark. Yeah, that's weird. Oh, you know what? Open amp meter. Check the amp meter. In fact, I just did a video this last weekend on amp meters. That would definitely cause that. Yes, definitely. So your connections in the junction box on the firewall and the wires that go up, the yellow with the black stripe that goes up to the amp meter, the solid yellow that go up to the dash panel, the amp meter, check all those connections. It's got to be that.
Okay. It's a good area to start there, because he's got to get her running.
Gotta.
Come on, Velvet, live! Okay, this is from Craig.
Hi, Craig.
He says, "I'm so glad you're back and everything is well, Miss Tina. Can you see or ask Paul if he done a repair for the horn rod? I have a 1930 Deluxe Coupe that has a original horn but doesn't work."
Okay. I haven't done horn rods yet because they almost like never really go bad. I mean, there's just a wire going down the middle of it, and you just need to make sure that the wire's not broken or that the insulation's not gone and that the solder connection's good. I guess we should talk about that. So I'll add that on the whiteboard of ideas for videos.
Okay.
People wonder where I get video ideas from. That's where I get video ideas from. So
It really helps, because if you've got that question, somebody else has got to have that question out there somewhere in the world that's having that same problem, you know?
Yep.
All right. We'll come back to that, Craig, and hopefully we'll have some good answers for you soon. It's Wade Dog. He's
Wade.
back. Hey! He says, "Ask Paul to explain what safety tubes are for tires and if they can still be bought."
Safety tubes. It's marketing. Okay, so the problem we have with inner tubes, nobody in the U.S. is making inner tubes anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
that sucks.
there's like they're still being made in Vietnam and India, and problem is they're making a bunch of different ones out of China, and like Jim and Peggy Carn bought a set just before Kerrville because they drove their Model A out and wanted new tubes, and they bought a brand new set of tubes from a reputable Model A parts vendor. They were the made in China ones. He installed them, put in his car, took it for the first drive, and got a blowout. But it wasn't like something poked the tube or anything. But literally, the valve stem just popped right off the tube and flew out. So
Anyway,
yeah, just and then the tire went flat.
oh my gosh.
So we pulled all those out. We got an old set of the Vietnamese made tubes and put them in there, and that's what they drove to Texas and back on, and those are holding up great. So anyway, to answer your question in the long form, safety tubes are just thicker rubber tubes that are virgin rubber, not recycled rubber. And you can tell the difference in feeling it. So like those ones that Jim and Peggy got, they almost feel like plastic. They don't feel like rubber. See, like we have an inner tube up there. I always keep them full of air because then, well, you can tell if it's got a hole in it, but they store better that way too. And then I've got some in the refrigerator because rubber stores better in the refrigerator. But if you feel the rubber tube, a real rubber tube, it feels like traditional rubber, what we're used to. But you feel these new ones coming out with this recycled rubber and all this stuff. I don't know if they're mixing plastics into it or what.
It does have a plasticky feeling.
It really
it's
does.
Like slicker.
It's slicker, and it's not as stretchy and on and on. Anyway, those are garbage. Absolute garbage. I don't even know why they're bothering to make those or sell them or anything. So safety tubes are the ones that are virgin rubber, thicker rubber, like almost twice as thick, and they all have rubber valve stems. So we have to like, well here, let's show you right here. So I have to take, so what I do is I have a collection of metal valve stems here. So what I do is I save these, and then I'll get a set of those rubber tubes, and I'll cut the valve stem off and then install metal valve stems, and then that's what I put on my cars. So
cool.
That way I can still have the look, but have the better, thicker rubber tubes.
Very nice.
Sorry that took so long.
Hey, it's all good.
Sorry.
This is from Mike.
Hi, Mike.
Mike says, Paul, I heard you have a Burt's engine. I have one and have ran it into some problems. I have a huge oil leak in front and a bigger one in the rear.
Yeah.
I am pulling the engine now. You would not believe the problems I have with these parts. When I determine the problem and make a fix, I'll let you know. So I think I could not remember if I had put this in before on one of the things or not, but have you been finding any of these problems with the Burt's engines?
Yeah. So, okay. So first of all, we have two Burt's engines, and they're both at the machine shop right now at Beckler Machine, because so Gary Floyd and his group, the Lodi group that ordered like 11 engines at once, and the batch they got, I think my engines came from that same batch. I can't remember. But anyway, about half their engines had real problems, like the kind where if they just put the engine together without checking first, they would have had serious issues. And it came about because the first engine they built was chewing up timing gears, just one after another. They'd get maybe 100 miles on a timing gear. So come to find out, the bore for the crank and the bore for the cam, there was a difference of about 5 thousandths between the distance between the crank and cam and the front and the rear. So the bores were not parallel. They were off a little bit, just enough where it was just eating up timing gears. So the fix for that was to remachine the journals for the cam and then make a 5 thousandths undersized timing gear for it out of aluminum or something. Wow. And then and then the engine's been fine. Anyway, so there's been all these weird little problems. Like one of theirs had a difference of like, I forget if it was 5 or 8 thousandths or something difference between the top of the piston bore and the bottom of the bore. Like the bores were tapered, which I don't know how you do that unless maybe the tool was coming loose as it was boring, or I don't know. Anyway, just weird little things. So knowing all that, I took my block and Bob's block to Willie and said, Willie, check everything. So the first thing we did was hot tank them. And there's video coming up on this, by the way.
Yay!
First thing we did was hot tank them and got about a half a pound of sand out of them.
Oh my gosh.
Because all the water passages, everything was still full of casting sand. But then we just started checking all these little things and finding little things, like one of the oil passages wasn't drilled through all the way, and just little stuff. So Willie's going to fix all that and make sure that everything measures correct before we even start putting them together, because otherwise we're doomed.
It's kind of scary.
Well, it is. I mean, and for a
if-
brand new block, you wouldn't expect that. Then again, this is growing pains, because this is kind of a first off thing. And they're going to find problems and work them out, and then each batch should be a little better.
Gotcha.
But the problem we have, again, is quality control in Chinese-made items. That's kind of what it comes down to, because, you know, Terry and John aren't in China at the foundry. They're here in the States. So the foundry ships a batch in a shipping container. They get them here in the States, unpack them, and there's only so much they're going to check. So before they're even shipped out, these things should have been caught, but they weren't. Anyway,
Okay.
I've got video coming up on that.
He's
Trust me, there's
got video
as
coming.
far as his oil leaks, I am so sorry. You're going to have to literally tear it down completely down to bare block and find out what's going on with that thing.
Wow, what a bummer.
You know, we did find one where the deck, the top of the block was 5/1000ths off in the center.
That could be causing a leak big time, right?
Well, that would cause head gaskets to not seal and different things like that. So the solution was to just run the scraper or the shaper over the top of the block and deck the block again. But we only had to take 5/1000ths off.
Okay. Hopefully that helps some.
I don't know if it helps. I'm
Sucks
sorry.
that you have to tear it apart,
It
though.
does,
Gosh.
yeah.
All right, Rob. Hey.
Hi, Rob.
Says at the end
Is
of
this
the...
going to be a happy question? Do we have good news for somebody for a change?
I know, we should have brought tissue
I know,
today.
right?
Okay, at the end of the video titled May is a Ford A Youth Month.
Oh, Model A Youth Month. Okay, this will
Yeah.
be a good question. Okay.
So we took Ford Model A's to a junior college for high school kids.
Right.
Paul said he was going to put his car on the smog analyzer.
Yes.
Did he do that? And what were the results? And were the results so bad that he's afraid to publish them?
Oh, gosh. Okay, well, here's what happened. And keep in mind, this is at a junior college. This is not a professional smog shop or anything. And the machine broke. And it wasn't because my car broke it. So the machine doesn't get the kind of maintenance that a shop machine would and things. And it ran out of the inert gas or something. Whatever it was. Anyway, what we saw initially after we warmed the car up. So I pulled the car in. The engine was cold. The HCs were pretty high. So I put a piece of cardboard or plastic or whatever it was in front of the radiator and warmed the engine up, and then it was actually pretty clean. I don't want to ruin it. There is a video coming up. The problem is the county where we live, we don't have smog stuff. In California, it goes county by county. Our county doesn't have smog garbage. So, I mean, because we're a rural county, our air is one of the cleanest in the state, on and on and on. So, it's almost impossible to find somebody here with a smog machine, one.
And willing to be on video.
And two, willing to let me be in their shop, you know, which the shops all have signs that say due to insurance reasons, nobody in the shop.
Gosh.
It's a California
That's so
thing.
crazy.
I don't know. So I am working on it. It will happen, but it's probably going to happen after the junior college fixes their smog machine, which isn't going to happen until summer breaks over and they get back in session.
Okay.
But it will happen.
Living in California has a lot of its good things, but it really has some really messed up stuff.
Oh, if it wasn't for the weather, we'd be so out of here.
Yeah.
So
Well, with
outta
this
here.
hot weather, I don't know.
Weather, yeah. It's been over 100 for 2.5 weeks.
Ugh. Yeah, that was sucky.
Yeah.
It still is sucky.
kind of
Okay,
is, yeah.
Brian.
Hi,
Hey.
Brian.
He says
Please make this a happy
he
question.
is from Ireland.
Oh, nice.
Nice, huh?
That's your peeps.
Yeah. He says he thanks you for answering the question about play in the steering wheel of his 29 pickup. Since he asked, I replaced the drag link, which was very worn, where the ball joints fit, and installed the kit of springs, etc., which Paul demonstrated. No improvement, so I will inspect the tie rod ends as advised and proceed from there. I particularly like, I'm not sure how the sentence, it was kind of funny, but the bit about how you check for the kingpin wear. I really appreciate your help and all the videos you two share. Without it, I wouldn't be on the road, as I can't get a local mechanic to work on it. Yeah, I think that's pretty much almost everywhere.
Yeah.
Local mechanics are just...
No, they're gone.
Yeah, and the poor guy, he says their government is doing the best to keep them off the road with their petrol prices over here. That's, I don't know how to equate it, but it's 8 sterlings per gallon. I don't know what the equivalent is, but it looks like it would be expensive.
They're not using euros, they're using sterlings.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand the sign.
Either way, it's probably a lot.
I'm sure it's a lot,
I have
'cause
to
it's a
actually
lot
show
here,
how to
too.
check for kingpin wear.
Yeah?
So what you do is you come over to your Model A, you jack up one wheel, one of the front wheels, and then put your hand on the top and bottom of the wheel and shake it this way. Okay? If there's any play, I mean, there might be a tiny bit, which is kind of normal if they haven't been greased properly or they're worn. But it should not, you shouldn't get enough wiggle to really be able to see it. Like, you should only be able to feel it, not see it. If you get enough wiggle where you can see it, then your kingpins are worn. You need to replace them.
Oh, well, okay. He says, can he be cheeky and ask for a video on how to replace original points sometime?
Oh, I've done that.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
the rebuild the distributor video, I show how to do that. So
Oh, okay. Go to his video then for the.
check the
What was it
video.
called again?
I think it's how to rebuild a Ford Model A distributor. I've done a few distributor videos only because everyone is just a little different. But one of them I show the original points. Now I've got another one coming up that I'm going to do, but I have modern points in that because that's what the owner wants. So,
Oh, gotcha.
yeah.
All right, Kevin. Hey.
Hi, Kevin.
He says, thanks for including my question in your video per the topic of radius ball maintenance. As I commented in the video comments, I actually have replaced the radius ball mounts bolts with the engine and bell housing still in the car.
Okay.
So easy peasy. Guess I'll have to make that video. Come on, Paul, use your imagination and ingenuity.
Oh,
It
I
can
remember
be
this.
done.
No, I remember this. So
And done right. So
I remember what
I
happened.
wanted you just to address this. I mean, I'm glad he had success and all this and that, but I know you have your reasoning for not doing a video on this way. So you explain, and that maybe will help some other people on knowing why you don't go there.
You want me to mansplain it?
Yeah, mansplain it.
Well, what Kevin's talking about, I did talk about the wishbone and the radius ball, and he asked, can you replace the inside part, the part that's inside the clutch housing, can you replace that without having to remove the motor? And I said no. But keep in mind, the reason I said that is because to get those parts in there, especially those two bolts that stick down, and the head of those bolts has a U-gouge in it that rod goes through to hold them so that they don't turn. And there's a sponge that has to be compressed down between that rod and the bottom of the clutch housing, if you can imagine all this.
I see.
It's almost impossible to do through that little tiny hole reaching up inside. I didn't say it was completely impossible. I said it's almost impossible. And since my videos that I do, I'm really talking to people who don't yet own a Model A, are thinking about owning a Model A, just bought a Model A, or are just not real familiar with a Model A yet. Maybe they've had it all their life, but they're not familiar. Now they're going to start driving it.
And don't have a lot of mechanical
Don't
skills
have a
and
lot
they're
of skill.
learning.
Those are the people I'm really focusing on. I mean, I'm very thankful to have so many people that watch my videos that know more than I do about the Model A. That's awesome. But you're not the people I'm really talking to. You guys know more than I do. So, if anything, all I'm doing is just being a goofball you get to point and laugh at, and that's fine too. But the people I'm talking to when I answer these questions are the people who don't really understand yet. So if you're a real newbie to working on Model A's, trying to explain how to get those bolts in and out through that tiny hole, the tool you use, and if it falls out of the pliers and falls into the clutch housing, now you're hosed. So I don't want to have to try
Being hosed sucks.
to talk someone through that. It's so much easier to tell someone, you know what, when the engine's out, the flywheel and everything's out of the way, and you've got full access to it, and you can see how it works, maybe in your mind, after you've done the job once already, then you go, you know what, I think I could do this with the engine in if I did this. Awesome. That's what it's all about. But for the purposes of what I'm trying to do, which is explain in simple terms to people who may not have a lot of mechanical ability or any experience with the Model A, I have to walk that fine line. So obviously Kevin is more experienced. He's not really the person I'm talking to when I'm doing these videos, but I'm glad he's there. I mean, and I actually like it when people who know more about them than I do comment on videos and say, hey, you could have done it this way, you could have done. That's why I leave those comments, or I put them up top so everybody can see them. Because yeah, of course you could do it a different way if you're more experienced or whatever, but if not, do it the way I show, which will get you through it easier, less headache maybe, and then later on when you get more experience, then do it the other way.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah, I think that's a good help.
that helps. All right.
Yeah. And David's next.
Hi,
Hey,
David.
I'll put the picture that he sent me right here.
Right here?
Yeah.
Wait,
Right there.
Right there.
Nah, it's better right there.
Right there?
I think so. Okay. He says you guys really need to make a video. Oh, sorry. You guys really need a video on top insulation on a special coupe. Woo, that's a tedious job. By the way, I know they did not come with a tan top, which he made his with tan top. So anyways, he had to bend Michael from Classique to make it, but that's what my wife wanted. Got a happy wife, happy life. And so he says, love you all. He's subscribed and contributing.
Well, thank you.
You're awesome, David.
Very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so Special Coupe is the one that has the long grain top material, and it wraps all the way around the back, even around the back window. And remember, we had the one Special Coupe, Casey's car that we got running for. It was her dad's car, and we got it running for her, and I did a video on that. That was a Special Coupe. And the reason why they're so different is that what the top material is going over is all like wood, and it's just a lot of work to get it to like mold around all those corners and everything. Which, oddly enough, the Special Coupe was Henry Ford's favorite body style. But it was also the most difficult and time-consuming one to put together.
Oh, wow.
So, I know, right? So, I'll probably never do a Special Coupe top.
Yeah, you are going to do this top.
We are going to be putting the top on that
Gandalf the
car.
Green here.
Yes.
It needs a new top bad, but it's just a flat.
Yeah, that's just a regular standard coupe. So, yeah, but we're going to put a top on that one. And
so that video is coming soon.
Yeah, but
in
I mean,
the near future.
I don't want to do a top on a Special Coupe because I don't want people to see me cussing on videos. So I'm just going to...
Yeah, going to keep it G-rated.
Yeah, so I figure the best way
Nice.
to do that is not put a top on a Special Coupe.
All right, my next one is from Rob, our little buddy from Canada.
Oh, hi, Rob.
I'm going to put their pictures up here in the corner.
Rob
They-
and
his buds.
Buds,
I think
yeah.
one is his brother, but I can't remember. I'd have to
yeah,
go back.
one was his brother,
And then one
their
is their
friend.
buddy,
Yeah,
or a nephew, or a cousin.
Friend.
I forget.
forget.
Anyways,
doesn't matter.
all three of them there are wearing one of the shirts that Paul had made up with the Model A and talking about. What does it say?
It says, if you, just so you know, if you break down on this tour, I'm totally going to pass you up and find a new friend with a better Model A.
They're all wearing it. They look fantastic. Thanks, Rob, for the support. You guys are so much fun. I've been having fun keeping in contact with you.
They got a good sense of humor.
They really do. I just love those guys. I wish they lived closer.
I know, really.
There's a lot of people that we've met like far away that I just wish they lived close so we
I want
could
to
like
tour
hang.
with those guys.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay, this is Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Hey, Chris. So he says he loves videos. He found us about 8 months ago. Very cool. He's watched most several times. He says his wife and him recently retired and have admired Model A's forever. With your videos, I gained the confidence to pull the trigger on a 29 two-door.
Nice.
Woo! It was a turnkey purchase, not a fixer-upper. I didn't want to experience one of those testosterone-lowering moments.
Yes. Yeah.
He surprised his wife with the purchase on Mother's Day, and he says it could have gone either way. She'd love it, or are you out of your mind? And
Yes.
fortunately, she loved it. She was
Fantastic.
ecstatic.
Good, okay.
And so he's put on about 100 miles on her so far. She
Nice.
named her Sophia.
Nice.
Very nice. Now he's looking forward to joining a club in, is it Southwest Michigan? I think that's what he
Okay.
means. As a perk, I live 17 miles west of the Gilmore
Oh,
Car
right.
Museum. So that's way cool. So he's going to become a member.
Nice. I'll be there in September.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
He's looking forward to the Model A Days event in
Good.
September.
See you there.
Woohoo!
Yeah, see you there.
And he's given me props. That was so sweet. Thank you, Chris.
Props.
He says for describing the dimensions on the different door openings, that really helped me
yes.
with my decision on the two-door.
That was a great video.
Thanks.
You should link
Thanks,
to it in the
Chris.
description below.
Okay, I'll link to the
Because
description
if you
in
haven't
case-
seen that video, that was actually one of your better ones where for people shopping for a Model A to watch.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
hoping that it would help. I had some questions about, tall people certain girth and whatnot, and it just I was just hoping it would help them to kind of say, oh, okay, well,
Help
would
them
this
not
work?
buy a Roadster pickup.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and different things that have shorter ceilings
Right.
and things like that for those tall guys and gals,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm glad that's helping. That makes
Yeah.
me really
Come say
happy.
hi at the Gilmore, Chris.
Yeah.
I don't remember what I'm supposed to be doing there, but I'm doing something there.
Yeah.
John Begg has a full schedule for me. So
Oh, very nice.
I don't know what I'm doing there yet.
Okay, this is Cliff.
Hi, Cliff.
Hey, Cliff, just a short question. He says, what do you use for a 31 carburetor air cleaner?
Oh, well, it's not really a short question. But, yeah, no.
Well, the words were short.
I know. People are going to scream and yell. They said,
Oh, no.
they didn't come with an air cleaner. They don't need one. They'll run too rich, on and on and on. Okay. I do run air cleaners on the driver cars. In fact, I run an air cleaner on our four-door, even though it doesn't get very much, because I value that car. So there are options, and don't use paper air filters, whatever you do. Number one, they are too restrictive. Number two, they get gasoline on them. You get a backfire, now you have a real fire.
Whoosh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've seen it happen. Watched it happen with my eyes.
Oh, no.
Yeah, not cool.
That sucks.
Yeah, I mean, luckily we had a fire extinguisher.
They were safe?
Yeah, no, there was a fire extinguisher in the car. They put it
Okay.
out, and you
Good.
should always have a fire extinguisher in a Model A. So, I use the K&N filters on the original type assemblies, whatever they're called, air maze assemblies. So, I have like one air maze left, I think, original one. Then I've got a couple repros. But anyway, the K&N filter fits into those with slight modification. Then you just oil the filter, and they breathe fine. Everything's fine. My cars don't run rich; they run fantastic, and it keeps gunk out of them. At the bare minimum, run the wire filter screen on an air maze. There's no real restriction to it. But it keeps the big gunk out, which the reason why I started running air filters, you remember way back, the first engine that was in our two-door, or I should say before the rebuild in our two-door. You remember we had trouble one time where it's like it would just run nice, then it would start running kind of bad, and then it would run nice and run
Sounds
bad.
familiar.
Well, what ended up happening is something got in through the carburetor with no air filter on it, ended up chipping the edge of one of the intake valves. So the way to fix it, obviously, was to replace the valve, which meant pulling the engine out and going through the whole thing. But anyway, so the chip in the valve, so whatever went through there was hard, whatever it was. And it ended up chipping, and it made like a little dent in the top of the block in the cast iron because it didn't have the hardened seats in it. So that's when we went with hard seats and did all the... And we're like, screw it, let's just rebuild the whole thing. So I had to completely redo that valve opening and then put a hard seat in it to fix that edge that got munched and then replace the valve. And ever since then, I said, I'm going to run air filters, and I've never had a problem since.
Okay, very nice.
Yeah.
So there is a good purpose for them.
You know, your mileage may vary. I'm sure there's a bunch of experts on the web forums that are going to chew me out for that. But they didn't come with one when they were new, so it doesn't need one.
I guess if you're not trying to make your car a show car,
I don't
maybe
know.
it doesn't matter. I don't know.
I don't know. But all I know is I'm running air filters.
There's always going to be somebody to criticize.
There's always
something.
somebody. Yeah, I don't care what they say. I'm running air filters.
It's just, it is what it is.
It is.
So, Daryl.
Hi, Daryl.
Hey. He says he's watched your Model A lubrication video, and it was a godsend. He says he purchased the Hyperloop?
Yeah.
Okay. He purchased the Hyperlube by Rizlone. Rizlone?
Yeah.
Okay. And he'll put it in the steering box. He says, but you made a comment about using it in the gearbox and rear end. Is it better to use a 600 weight from Snyder's, or does this do the job?
Well, that's a double-ended question. So I talked about using it because it's a really thick oil. But so what I was talking about, and I probably didn't make it clear enough, like if all you can get is 90 weight gear oil, put some of that in the rear end, and then put some of the Hyperlube in there to thicken that up, because like regular 90 weight gear oil is not thick enough.
Oh, okay.
If you can get the 600W from Snyder's, whatever, do that.
Okay, so either or would
Don't
work
have to
fine.
mix it. Just dump it straight in.
Okay.
It's a little thinner than what should be in there, but it's fine because it's still a way better oil than what was available 90 years ago.
He says also there is a grease fitting on the top of the transmission and the cover for the throw-out bearing, and one next to the steering box. Is that oil or grease?
Grease.
Grease. Awesome.
The one in the steering box is oil. The throw-out bearing is grease, and just a little bit, because you're not actually greasing the bearing. It's a sealed bearing. What you're greasing is the shaft that the throw-out bearing carrier rides on. Every time you push the clutch, you're pushing forward on the throw-out bearing. The forks are pushing the throw-out bearing forward. Well, that carrier rides on the shaft.
Oh, yeah, so you don't want
All
the
you're
friction.
greasing is that shaft. That's it. So just a little bit, not much.
All right. Sweet. All right, David.
Hi,
Hey.
David.
Thank you, sir, for all the great YouTube videos. I've watched them all. Got myself a Model A29 leather back. Yay!
Nice.
In one of them, you spoke of not having a grease zert on the steering box or steering gear box. Well, mine has one. It is really bad, or I'm sorry, is it really bad if the previous owner used grease instead of gear oil?
Yeah.
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 Would it help if he just like cleaned it out really well and now started using the right thing?
Well, it's better than nothing, yeah. So the problem is that the Zerk grease fittings have the exact same thread as the plug that goes in the top of the steering gearbox. And sometimes, like, people would be servicing cars or whatever, and they would take that cap off, check the fluid in there, fluid's low, puts them in, whatever. Oh, where'd the cap go? I need to put something in there. Oh, here is a Zerk fitting. It has the same thread. Boom, 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 done. So either that, or like people sometimes they would say, well, my steering box leaks, so I'll just put grease in it now. It won't leak. The problem with that is grease doesn't stay in the mesh between the worm gear on the steering shaft and the sector gear, like the 2-tooth or 7-tooth. So if you watch the video I did a couple weeks ago on how to adjust a 2-tooth steering box, I have a cutaway model, and you can see how tight that mesh is between that worm gear and the sector gear. So grease doesn't stay in there, so those run unlubricated, whereas oil's always in there, always coating the gears. So you have to run oil. Now, if your steering box starts leaking a lot, it's time to rebuild it, or replace the bushings in the sector housing. Maybe go with the needle bearings in the sector housing and seals or something, whatever. But it's time to do that, not time to put grease in it. So if you have grease in it now, your steering box is going to wear very fast. Mm-hmm. If it's not already worn, you can take it apart, clean it out. But if it's already worn, it's time to rebuild it anyway. So just pull it out, rebuild. Don't put grease back in it.
Okay. And he also sent a picture of it, so I'm going to put it right up there just so you guys can see.
Oh, he has a 7-tooth steering box.
Oh, he does?
Yeah, that's a 7-tooth steering box.
I wish I had shown you it sooner. Sorry.
I wish you had. So the 7-tooth steering box is also not supposed to have grease in it. Thick oil is what it's supposed to have in it. But I have yet to see a 7-tooth steering box that does not need to be rebuilt. So, in the steering video I did, I even mouthed off about how if I buy a car that has a 7-tooth box in it, I yank it and put a 2-tooth box in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 7-tooth boxes are just not fun.
Yeah, you definitely won't see a video from here on the 7-tooth steering box.
Not going to show that.
Not going to happen.
No, I don't even own one.
All right, this is Jim.
Hi, Jim.
Jim. He loves our channels. Yay!
Hi.
He has a question about Zenith carburetors. He says, I have rebuilt a spare carburetor and would like to know what you do to keep the inside of the carburetor from rusting, if anything, until you use it.
Oh, that's a really good question. So when I rebuild a car, in fact, I've got one right here. Hang on, I can just show you.
Hey, show and tell.
I can show and tell. Okay, so here's a carburetor I've been working on. So inside the carburetor, since you can't really get to the bowl or anything of the carburetor without having to go inside, so I take WD-40 and I go like that. And then I take WD-40, I open up the butterfly, and I go like that. And then I go in here to the opening where the fuel goes in, and I stick the hose in there, and I go and it comes out. Then I take this off, and I stick the hose in and go like that. It comes out. And then I wrap it in plastic and put it on the shelf. That's it.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good idea.
Yep.
Genius. Love it. Superstar.
I just use Whiskey Delta 40.
All right, this is John.
Hi, John.
He says the distributor is loose in the head.
Distributor's loose in the head, okay.
When I try to pull it out, it rotates clockwise and feels like it's on a spring. It won't come out. Do you have any ideas?
Did you take the little screw out on the side? So on the side of the head, there's a 9/16 nut with a screw in the middle of it. And you have to loosen the 9/16 nut and then back that screw almost all the way out, because that's what holds the distributor in. In fact, I'll show you.
Okay, another show and tell.
Show and tell. I have a distributor right here. Okay, this is a junk one. Actually, this is the one I'm working on for Derek.
Oh.
So if you look at the distributor housing, you see this right here, how there's that like indentation? That is where the screw goes in and holds it, and that's what keeps the distributor from coming up out of the head. So you got to back the screw out enough to where it's not in that slot anymore. So make sure you do that.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, I hope
Ta-da!
that helps. I hope that does the trick.
This is the show and tell
I
episode.
like it. This is awesome. Hey, oh my gosh, this is our last
It's pretty good
one.
considering you didn't even give me a heads up on these.
Yeah, you just happen to have the stuff. That's way
There's
cool.
stuff right there.
Well, you got a lot of stuff you're working on,
Yeah,
so
I
it's
got a lot of
surprising
stuff
if you
I'm
didn't
working
find stuff.
New distributor video coming up.
Yay! This is from Randy. He's
Hi,
our
Randy.
Last one.
Don't forget, I got a question for you.
Oh, he has a question for me. He wouldn't tell me what it was.
Nope.
Because he wants my honest answer. That's all
Well,
I'm ever going to
because you don't tell me these questions in advance, because you want my like immediate, off the cuff response. Well,
Well, that in time. I usually don't have the time to say, here, read these
oh,
first.
is that what it is? Okay.
Well, a lot of the time that's our problem, is not enough
You
time.
just want to see me go,
You never go, Well, it's
I
rare.
do go,
It's rare. I gotta say. Okay,
Okay.
anyways.
Hi.
Randy's
Hi, Randy.
question. Hey, Randy. Does Paul have a video on changing the water pump?
No, actually not yet.
No, not yet?
No, and
Oh.
you know what's sad? So I'm going to be rebuilding water pumps Tuesday at Bob's.
Oh,
I got like 2 or 3 people bringing water pumps over, and I'm going to rebuild a bunch of water pumps. And I
Wow.
should make a video on it. Problem is, when you
should.
do a club seminar, it makes lousy YouTube videos.
well, just tell them shut their yaps and do a video.
I'm not going to tell my friends and club members to shut their yaps. So I do have plans of making a video not only on how to rebuild a water pump, but how to service a water pump, like with packing, things like that. And I'll show how to install and pull it out.
Yeah, you should.
Okay, you ready for your question?
What's my question?
Okay.
I can't even imagine what it would be, but okay.
Okay, this came from Harold and Pam in our club. Okay. So Harold asked, and he sat down and straight face asked, how did you, Model T,
Okay.
become interested in Model A's? Not how did you discover them, like because I bought one and restored it and then you saw it and wrote in it. He wants to know what happened, what changed in here, what clicked, what light bulb came on and made you all of a sudden get into these cars.
Oh, well, I suppose that's kind of easy to answer. Well, A, obviously they've been in our life for a little bit.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is I always have a mechanical interest in vehicles. I used to work on them with my dad all the time. I think I said something about that in one of my videos. Loved it, loved it, loved it. He wouldn't let me be a mechanic. That sucked.
Yeah.
So I kind of was in a pity party about that one.
But I let you.
Yeah, but he lets me, so that's way cool. So I got kind of back to my love for being interested in what's in the engine, realized how simple these engines are. My gosh, there's hardly anything to them. I'm thinking, man, anybody can work on these, even women.
Even me.
You could have done anything. You're too genius. Anyways, so
way.
I just see a huge lack in the women that are being involved in Model A's. It's mostly all men,
Yeah.
which is awesome. I love men. I married one. But
That is not an
honestly-
invitation.
But honestly, ever since I was a young girl, I was such a tomboy. All my best friends were guys. I didn't really have any girlfriends because they're too girly for me.
Right.
And now I'm just kind of nice and balanced. I got a lot of girlfriends that are girly, and it just all over the board.
Well, you got your running friends.
Yeah, I
and,
got all kinds of different friends now that are gals. But even I have not found any girlfriends that are interested in cars like me. But I think in this kind of a thing, especially when you're taking long trips and these cars can be a little more difficult physically sometimes to drive because you don't have the power steering, you don't have all that kind of stuff. It would be nice that so many people are couples and they're driving together that you would share in the experience in driving them and taking turns to make the trip more enjoyable. When things happen to the vehicle, that your spouse isn't always stuck being the one to fix it all the time, that you could jump in there and help him out and get the problem solved much quicker. And I just think it's he's got like a fantastic way of teaching how to do all these things. He's super technical and he explains things really great. And sometimes I feel like, yeah, it's definitely for beginners, but you know, we have different ways of thinking, and so I just thought, well, maybe my way of thinking will just kind of bring it down even one more notch for those who've never had a Model A or thinking about it, and just kind of experience something from just bare bones, not having any idea of anything.
But why these cars? What made you
Well,
suddenly
they're
turn on?
Awesome! I told you because well, A, they're gorgeous, they're amazing, they're so
That
old.
one's not very gorgeous right now.
Oh, even
It's
it
coming
has
along,
it has
but-
character, and I love it.
It has its own smell too.
Well, with me, I
It
don't
smells like spider spray.
even if I had like an old junker Model A,
Yeah.
just those ones are that patina or some are kind of rusty.
You want Tex Willis's
I
truck?
want Texas truck. It's so cool. And I saw some others over there that were, rust buckets or whatever. I don't know if they're truly rusty or their paint is just plain gone, but I love the rustic look. That's me.
Well, that way, if you sideswipe somebody, you no one can tell.
But I absolutely love them, and I love their simplicity. I don't like all this high-tech new stuff. I don't like it at all. You can't work on any of it. You have to take them to the shop. It's high maintenance. It's super costly. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on, and all the negatives that new cars bring us. It has some positives. Yeah, sure, they can go like way faster, but then you
Yeah.
run the risk of getting in wrecks and all kinds of stuff because you're driving too fast.
You run that
Who
risk with
knows?
anything. I mean,
They crumble into little tiny waffle cakes
crumple
when
zones.
when you get in a wreck. Or these, you're like, ugh, and you're like, oh man, I felt that, and kind of put a little dent, but hey, I still got a vehicle that I can
People always
drive.
assume if you get in a wreck in this, you're dead.
No, not even. I mean, you have far more chances of dying in a today's vehicle than you do in yesterday's vehicle.
I don't know about that. I mean, with
Why's
all
that?
the airbags and everything, it's like riding in a bubble wrap container.
Yeah, but look at what happened to me in my high-speed head-on collision. Okay, sure, I lived. Thank God.
Thank God you lived. But
You
if you were in
know,
a
I
Model
was-
A when that drunk hit you, I don't know if you would have lived.
Yeah, I probably would have died.
Probably would have died. I think so.
But we were going at high speeds.
Yes.
I mean, I was doing the speed limit, but
You
I
were
was
going 50. He was going
like
55,
55,
60.
60, but it, gave me a lot of brain trauma, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
and all these things. But yeah, I suppose that's a bad scenario.
Yeah,
but
don't even use
it's
that one.
not as common, you know?
Well, I think it's because mostly we take back roads on purpose.
Yeah.
And we go slower, and there's more time to react. And I mean, you didn't have time to react because a drunk came over the double yellow and hit
Too
you head
close.
on.
Yeah.
I mean,
Didn't give me
there's
enough.
not a lot of time. But if you had been going 35, do you think you would have had time to ditch it or something?
I don't know. As late as he came into my lane, I really don't
I don't know.
Who knows?
You don't know.
Yeah. So, anyways, no matter
Be
what.
right with God.
Yeah,
what
because
you
you
do.
never know when
You
you're
never
going.
know.
You don't know when you're being called home.
You're right.
let
Jesus
me
is
tell
coming.
ya.
Look busy.
Yeah. Anyways, so that's some of my main things. Model A's are just amazing. I like other old vehicles too. I mean, there's a lot of really cool vehicles out there that, are 80, 90 years old. Some of the ones that are maybe 70 years old are even pretty dang cool. But I like the older era stuff. They have so much class about them, so much unique design. Every car out here looks like a little playing card deck now.
Jelly bean on
Or
wheels, as they
they
call
all look alike.
Yeah.
Everything. Nobody has any like new ideas for themselves. They're like, oh, that's cool. Let's make one, but look, just a teeny bit different. But no, they look the same by the time they're done.
Or you make a Cybertruck that looks like a recycled aluminum container.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
whatever.
So I don't know. I just don't care for the new stuff. I like my Jeep Renegade. It's cutie pootie. But
It's all right.
Yeah, it's all right. But if I had my way, I would drive one of these every day.
Yeah, well, I did that.
And he did that. It was really cool.
Yeah, I drove every day, daily driver for a year.
I wish you had like video record.
I wish I'd
whole
been making
time.
videos then,
Yeah.
like I do now.
Yeah, but he did it and then talked about it later on.
Later on.
So you could do it again.
No.
Come on, do it again.
I got soft. No, I can't take heat. I can't take heat.
Well, yeah, that's right. But since at one time you got really sick, you
Yeah, I ended up in the cardiac unit for 8 days.
For heat.
Because whatever happened, maybe it was a heat stroke, I don't know, but I was working on the roof at work.
It was 100 and something.
100 something I was working on, which I was fine. I wasn't, losing it or anything, but then I came down, and then next thing you know, I mean,
He's running fevers.
I had all the heart attack
all
symptoms,
kinds of
ended up in the
crazy
cardiac
stuff.
unit, and
Yeah, found
Well,
out
anyway.
he had fluid around the heart or the lungs.
the sac around my heart, I forget what it's called,
It
the
starts with a P and it won't come to my mind.
whatever it is, pleurisy, I had that,
Yeah.
and whatever the sac around my heart was inflamed.
Gotcha.
But they said somehow it was related to working in the heat or something. But it's so weird. Ever since then, I can't take heat.
Yeah.
Like if I get to where it's hot, my chest starts getting tight. I start just pouring sweat, which why Texas was really difficult for me.
Yeah, that was
I had
super
a
difficult.
very difficult time.
I was
in
really
Texas.
worried about his health in Texas.
Yeah, I wasn't doing too good at the end.
Yeah. Anyways,
You don't
that's,
need to hear all that.
that's enough of that.
That's enough of that.
I want to thank each one of you for joining us today, and I hope some of those questions that were asked, or maybe some of your questions, and that helped you too.
Hope so.
I hope so. We're hoping to help lots and lots of people keep these beauties on the road and driving and having fun in them.
They belong on the road.
They belong on the road, not in some shed or shack or
No.
whatever,
Get them out.
abandoned in some field, whatever.
Or
Save them.
Sitting in front of Bob's shop for 2 years outside.
Yeah,
Whatever.
these things are so much fun, and I think anybody who drives one realizes that is a fact.
Well, that one's fun, and that one's fun. But that one's not fun yet.
It's just not fun because it's not doing
Not
what
yet.
you want it to yet.
You realize if we weren't working on other people's Model A's all the time or restoring Model A's, you realize we would be doing almost no work on Model A's.
That's true.
If we just had our cars,
Well, yeah, there'd be hardly anything to do. 'Cause
we
they're
would be
like-
doing almost no work on Model A's at all. But people assume that these things take all this maintenance because they see me constantly working on a Model A, keeping in mind they're almost always someone else's car.
Yeah.
Or something we're restoring or a project or something.
Yeah, usually if you have them, working in good order, they stay working in good order.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I
it- and
ignored that
then-
thing for a long time.
Yeah, every once in a while we'll have something happen, and that's where these videos come in great, but
The only
it's-
thing that
it's
happened
not-
during that whole year was I got the clogged fuel line that one time.
Wow.
And I got out, blew the fuel line out, put it in, and went on my way. And about 6 months later, then, maybe I'll check out that filter and see what was in there. There was a little piece of silicone.
Oh gosh.
I don't know how it got there. It had to come from a gas pump or something. I don't know.
All right. Well, this
Anyway.
video is getting much longer
Sorry.
than I meant. And thank
It's a
you.
wrap.
Thank you, everybody. We love you. God bless you. Have a great week. Mwah.